Hello, students. Today we are going to go ahead and start our multiplication unit. And so we're going to start with our first strategy today, which is repeated addition. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that for today's lesson, you are going to need a piece of scratch paper and something to write with. So make sure you have that available at your work area um, for our lesson. Okay, going into our I can statement for today. Our I can statement is I can use repeated addition to solve multiplication problems. All right, we're going to start with a warm-up. So on your scratch paper, I want you to go ahead and continue our skip counting by twos. So go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and start with that for about a minute or so. Okay, so skip counting by 2. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Then the next four numbers in this sequence would be 14, 16, 18, and 20. So go ahead and check your answers on your scratch paper. See how you did on that. All right, and now we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to skip count by 5. So go ahead and pause the video and take about a minute or so to finish the next four numbers in this sequence. All right, so we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and then the next four numbers would be 30, 35, 40, and 45. Again, just check those answers, see how you did on those. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start getting into some of our vocabulary that we will be learning today. So first off, as I mentioned, we are starting our multiplication unit. So multiplication just simply means to add equal groups. And that's the key word is equal. So all the groups have to be equal. They all have to be the same. Okay. So again, we're going to learn, we're going to start with our first strategy today to multiply. And that's repeated addition. That's our second vocabulary word. And repeated addition just means to add the same number repeatedly. So when you repeat yourself, that means you're saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over, right? So an addition is when we just add two numbers together. All right, so repeated addition is just adding the same number repeatedly. Okay, so the example we have here is 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. So let's go ahead and take a look at the problem 3 times 5. So when we're looking at multiplication problems, what I want you to kind of keep in mind is that this x symbol, that x that's in the middle, that is the multiplication symbol. So I want you, when you see that symbol, I want you to think of groups of, the words groups of. So on here, 3 times 5 would be 3 groups of 5. All right. So 3 times 5 means that you have 3 groups of 5. So there are many ways that we can solve this problem, but again, today we are focusing on just repeated addition. So, like I said, we're looking at 3 times 5, and this means 3 groups of 5. So when we're writing this as an addition sentence, when we're writing 3 times 5 as an addition sentence using repeated addition, we would have to add the number 5 to itself 3 times, which is 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 15. All right, because there's 3 groups and there are 5 in each group. All right, so again, number 5 is repeated 3 times. All right, so I want to take a minute now to go ahead and talk about the different parts of a multiplication problem. So looking at our example we've been working with, 3 times 5 equals 15. The first vocabulary word I want to talk about in this part is factors. So when we're talking about factors, we're just talking about the numbers that we are multiplying together. So in this example, 3 and 5 are the factors because they are the numbers that we are multiplying together. So then we multiply the factors and together, we get the answer to the multiplication problem, which is the product. So the product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So in our example here, the product would be 15. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at another example here. We have 4 times 2. So again, when you see that little X symbol, that little multiplication symbol in the middle, I want you just to think of the words groups of. So in this problem, it would be 4 groups of 2. And if we wrote it using repeated addition, it would be 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 8. All right, because we added 2 to itself 4 times. Okay, so I know that 4 groups of 2 equals 8. 4 times 2 equals 8. And so that is how we show it using a multiplication sentence and then an addition sentence using repeated addition. All right, and so here's another one, 3 times 1. So go ahead and pause the video now to go ahead and fill in these blanks. Okay, so 3 times 1 is showing us that we are having 3 groups of 1. So that would mean that we would have 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. And 3 is the product in this equation because that is the answer to that multiplication problem. And now we're looking at the factors 2 and 7. We're multiplying those together. So go ahead and pause the video and take about a minute or so to fill in the blanks. Okay, so now we have, like I said, we have the factors 2 and 7. So 2 times 7, 2 groups of 7. Then 7 plus 7 equals 14 in repeated addition. All right. And so that brings us to the end of today's lesson. So before you wrap it up for today, I want you guys to go ahead and answer these few questions as our little exit ticket, and we'll go over them tomorrow when we meet up as a whole group. We'll go over these problems and we'll see how we do.